Hi, hello, welcome back to Even More News, the first, the only news podcast. I'm Katy Stoll, and I'm feeling great.
You are, me too. Me being Cody Johnston on the show. Thank you for welcoming me and us to it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hey, guess
Hello.
what? Jonathan is also here.
Where? Oh, hey, there he is.
Hi, I'm here.
That's our Jonathan.
Not much else to say other than that.
Okay, wow. There sure is a lot of news for us to get to today, folks. But more importantly, let's celebrate.
Yay.
We gotta celebrate.
Something? Is it good? Is it normal? Is it like
these are fine.
Yeah.
We're gonna do these quick. There's too much to get
Yeah,
to.
there is too much.
Don't worry, everybody. There's always time for celebration, but we're gonna get to stuff. Friday, January 31st is undocumented National Backwards Day. Nick, put this on the screen. Undocumented.
Yeah,
I don't know, guys. It's national, but everything feels like National Backward Day. Ayo.
Oh, wow. You're right.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
Right? When I was learning to drive, when I learned to drive fresh, I put it in reverse. No, my high school best friend and I would be driving, and our game would be read every sign backwards. It's not a great game, but I remember exit is Tigza.
Mm-hmm.
Pots.
Yep, Pots was a great one. Pots!
Mm-hmm.
Pots! Anyway, that's my backwards story. They also suggest, this is important,
Oh.
and this is fun,
Oh.
eat dessert for breakfast, perhaps?
Not sure that's backwards, but okay.
Yeah, it's not quite backwards.
There's a lot of breakfast foods that are desserts, for sure.
Yes.
Sweet rolls, muffins.
Pancakes are dessert. Many breakfast foods are desserts already.
Okay, and that just dovetails quite nicely into our next holiday.
Oh, perfect.
Saturday, February 1st is Ice Cream for Breakfast Day.
Okay.
I do
seems like a bad
sometimes
idea.
have ice cream with breakfast, but not for breakfast, and not a bunch. It's like, I've had my breakfast and I'm just like, I don't want to work yet, but I want a little something. And okay, I'll just go get a spoonful of ice
Is
cream.
it like a spoonful, or is it like you scoop out a thing and you're like,
Yeah,
here's
to
my
start,
morning
it's
ice cream?
To start, it's a spoonful. No, waffles
To
and
start,
ice
it's
cream
a
are
spoonful. Okay.
I do reserve for a dessert situation. I'm not opposed to it. And when I'm out of milk for my tea, because I like to put a splash of milk in my tea, I'll sometimes take a tiny spoonful of vanilla ice cream.
Like Mrs. Doubtfire. Well, that was icing on a cake, but
Icing in your coffee?
Well, as long as it drips off a man's face.
she's
No. Part of it is
she
that
sticks her face in the
cool.
cake,
Yeah.
Sure.
You know.
your teeth,
Well,
etc.
So on.
Yeah, and so on and so forth. Do you want to
That'd
do
be
the
a fun
scene? Should we do
Halloween
the
costume.
scene?
We should do the scene. Okay, everybody, stop the news. Stop the news. We're going to do a scene from Mrs. Doubtfire.
Just a drive-by.
And then we'll do the drive-by fruiting,
Yeah,
That's
we'll
the
skip
one.
step
That's
ahead
the
to the
one.
one. Yeah.
run-by fruiting.
And honestly, we could probably do the scene where he's doing the voiceover stuff too, where he cycles through all of the voices.
Oh, yeah, we could do that.
I do voices. Okay, let's just stop and watch Mrs. Doubtfire. Okay. That was great, everybody.
What
oh my
a-
God,
what
it's
a
been so
movie.
long. It's been so long since I've seen Mrs. Doubtfire. I'm so glad we watched that together.
I feel better, actually.
I do too.
I feel much better.
I had ice cream for breakfast once on my birthday when I was a child. My parents let me, and I regretted it. It was
You did.
yeah, it was a delicious peanut butter ice cream chip type of situation.
So good.
But it was a morning, and I was the child, and it didn't.
And your tummy felt a little upsetty.
Tummy felt a little upsetty. Yeah, tummy felt a little crummy.
Tummy felt a little crummy. I keep getting a targeted ad for a shirt that says more spaghetti, less upsetty, and I do want it, but I don't want to buy it.
Do you support these shirts that say more spaghetti,
Do
less
you
upsetting?
support-
Perfect.
Do you support the onesies?
Jonathan, get us on track. You've got so much to get through.
We're recording this on Thursday morning. So last night, to us, there was a collision between an American Airlines jet carrying 60 passengers and 4 crew members and an Army Black Hawk helicopter with 3 soldiers on board. It happened near Reagan International Airport in Washington, D.C., with all the debris crashing down into the Potomac River. Apparently, so far, officials believe there are no survivors. It's the deadliest plane crash in the U.S. since 9/11. and the first deadly U.S. commercial passenger airline crash since February 2009. We don't know, as of the time we're recording this, specifically how this happened, who's to blame. Obviously, a helicopter probably should not have been flying in the landing flight path of a plane. There's a suggestion that the air traffic controller warning came in too late. Lots of stuff going on. Pretty devastating tragedy. And of course, this morning, now we're dealing with the immediate politics of the situation, the right saying it's DEI
healthy
and
politics?
Diversity.
Oh, not healthy politics. Okay.
Well, the Trump administration eliminated the Aviation Security Advisory Committee, froze the hiring of new air traffic controllers. Elon Musk pushed out the FAA administrator because that administrator had been critical of SpaceX's safety record.
Because it was bad.
I would posit that it's a stretch to say that the Trump administration specifically caused this, or that if Kamala Harris was president, it wouldn't have happened. But these actions probably make things like this more likely.
That's where I'm at. I think it's unlike, I don't know. I need more information about specifically what transpired to know if any of these actions directly affected this moment. We don't have that information. It is fucking wild that the helicopter was flying there in the first place. It's hard to wrap my mind around how that kind of information, how there wasn't some sort of a warning in time. It's just hard for me to wrap my mind around how that happens outside of personnel error, but we don't know. And unlike some of these fucks, I don't think it's appropriate quite yet. It's appropriate to be aware of all the things, but we need more information before we start saying loudly and boldly online it's Donald Trump's fault, you know? It's just the way it's bullshit to be up there saying, oh, this is DEI.
I generally agree with that. I do think that, I mean, there was even a tweet that morning before this even happened of like, yeah, I've been in contact with like people in the FAA and they're like very worried about something exactly like this happening.
Right.
Like it is the chaos, which we'll get to, like all the other stuff that's been going on, but like the chaos that the Trump administration is causing on purpose is the kind of thing that does create situations like this. And I'm not going to be like, oh, because they got rid of this committee, like that's what caused it. Like that's not the case, but it has been a lot of just instability and chaos this past week, really compressed together. And seeing that be a warning that day, and then like 10 hours later, this happens. It's like, oh, yeah. I mean, this probably related in some way. Also, and I'm not out here being like, we need to like take all the tactics of MAGA and Trump and like do them ourselves, and we need to be just like them. I completely disagree with that. But fuck them.
Fuck them.
If it was a different president, they would be the worst people in the fucking world about this.
100%. Well, they would
be
probably
mocking everybody. They'd be saying exactly what Donald Trump's saying right now about diversity. They'd be doing all this kind of stuff. Joe Biden did this, whatever. So while I do agree, like, this is a tragedy and we shouldn't be like politicizing it, I'm not like, we don't want to blame the Trump administration because like, fuck them forever. Not an inch for those people.
I agree with you completely, 100%. Fuck them. You are completely correct. I'm just saying, I want to be the kind of person that says things when I know that they're accurate.
Oh, totally.
And what I do know is accurate is that all this shit has been happening this week exactly as you just described it. And yeah, this is the kind of shit that happens. But I need some more information before I'm going to tell you one thing or another. But these kinds of accidents will happen.
Oh, well, also there's a messaging issue from the Democrats, and the attention economy is owned by people like Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and whatever they say becomes the truth. Trump's out there saying like, oh, there's the diversity and whatever, and it's like that's what so many people are gonna like. It was. And I think that in the coming weeks and months and however long, it's important to hammer home the things that Donald Trump is doing and trying to do, and the effects that we will see from it. Like, this may not be his fault, but this kind of thing will be.
Yes.
And this kind of thing will be happening because of all the things they want to do. There's so many aspects of the government, of the federal government, that people don't really think about, that they're involved in, that we're probably going to talk about it. Like, all these people, like, losing jobs, losing, like, benefits, losing all this funding and things that, like, they rely on that we don't think about. And they're just going to try to get rid of it all. And we're going to see all these domino effects like this. And I think it's important to start pointing that out as early as possible, so that when things like this
100%.
do happen more, or somebody else loses their job for this reason or this reason, they will remember, like, oh yeah, he's dismantling the federal government before our very eyes and getting rid of all these regulations, getting rid of all these safety regulations, and getting rid of all these programs that help people with all these types of jobs. They help people survive things. They help people live. They help people get through their day. They help people in all these ways we don't understand. And I just think that getting out ahead of this in an honest way, because, like you're saying, like, he didn't fire the committee and then they were like, crash more planes. But this is
there was clearly a breakdown of communication at some point last night.
Yeah,
but we don't know what that looks like or how.
We don't know that this is a failure of the administrative state, but it's a harbinger for the future failure of the administrative state, with the FDA, the USDA, with Medicare, with all of these different things. And of course, we'll talk about the budget thing.
Yes.
I do want to point out that pilots, FAA officials, air traffic controllers have been bringing up stuff like this for a while, going back years.
Okay.
The GOP has wanted to privatize air traffic control for a decade. I Googled it this morning, and there's an article from 2015, GOP pushes to privatize air traffic control. That kind of thing, outsourcing it so there is not a central place with a consistent standard, is going to lead to more stuff like this.
Yes.
None of us, I think, trust a privatized for-profit air traffic control. I don't even know what that would look like.
And those companies get away with it too. More.
Right. I mean,
right.
At least then you sue a company when this happens and not the federal government. But like, that doesn't bring people's lives back. The FAA last year increased its hiring of air traffic controllers. In September 2024, they said they'd met their goal of hiring 1,800 in the previous fiscal year. Independent of DEI, right? They hired 1,800 people to work as air traffic control, an incredibly stressful, intense job.
Stressful, yeah.
There are a lot of fail-safes in place to prevent this kind of thing from happening, and there's going to be a lot of finger-pointing going around when we find out which specific fail-safe broke on this one. Okay, so Trump, he gave a press conference this morning, which I will play a clip from in a minute. I do want to read his initial statement on Truth Social. And I think I kind of forgot about this stuff, that there would be an official statement from the White House, which is like our hearts go out to blah, 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 like a presidential statement. And then on Truth Social last night, he truths, the airplane was on a perfect and routine line of approach to the airport. The helicopter was going straight at the airplane for an extended period of time. It is a clear night. The lights on the plane were blazing. Why didn't the helicopter go up or down or turn? Why didn't the control tower tell the helicopter what to do instead of asking if they saw the plane? This is a bad situation that looks like it should have been prevented. Not good. Like he's a podcaster.
I know.
Like he's
it's
a podcaster.
like
he's not the president of the United States. Someone's to blame. It's like he frames it like, who fucked up, versus if, to Cody's point earlier, if it was Joe Biden in office, all that they would be saying is, this is Joe Biden's fault. This is Joe Biden's fault. But he does this, so it makes it sound like he's trying to figure out the conspiracy too.
He's just posting, and it's just like, it's expected, and we should all remember that this is what it's like, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, just the fact that every time anything happens, it's like just a guy who's like, what's going on here? I watched the video and I don't understand it. You're the president, man. Like, go get a briefing about it. Like, go do your fucking job and then communicate to people. I don't expect him to do that. Obviously, we all experienced the first term, but it is just...
And hammer that message home, right? we don't know what caused this. It's too early to say, but this happened on your watch. You're the president. What are you going to do about it? And the answer is no more lady pilots, I guess.
Diversity, yeah.
Astounding. All right, let's hear this clip.
All right.
Let's hear the worst person in the world, second worst person in the world talk about it.
I already know. I already welled up with rage from this earlier, so let's do it again.
Mr. President, you have today blamed the diversity elements, but then told us that you weren't sure that the controllers made any mistake. You then said perhaps the helicopter pilots were the ones who made the mistake.
It's all under investigation.
I understand that. That's why I'm trying to figure out how you can come to the conclusion right now that diversity had something to do with this crash.
Because I have common sense, okay? And unfortunately, a lot of people don't.
I
think it's so fucking enraging. Shocking. It shouldn't be shocking. But
no, that's the thing. It's like it's shocking, but every time he does something like this, like, well, of course,
under investigation.
He's a monster.
To now say like, well, the reason he's saying, well, it seems like the controllers, the problem wasn't there because he knows that looks bad on him with all of this stuff, whether it was his fault or not. But he knows that looks bad because of all of his bullshit that he's done. And so now you're saying it must be the dead people, the people that just died, your service members that
still under investigation
that just died. That must be diversity. So the pilots. Okay. So the dead people. Got it.
If they find out, if it comes out that the pilot of the Black Hawk helicopter was a minority or a woman, that person's entire name is going to be dragged through the mud around a huge chunk of the country. It's
really disgusting.
Disgusting. He's also acting so immediately defensive. He's acting like he's pretending that everyone's treating him the way he would treat Biden if this happened. He's like, it wasn't my fault. I didn't do it. It's like, okay, no one's saying you crashed the plane. What do you know? What are we going to do about it?
Grow up, man. You're the fucking president of the United States.
Again.
Be a president. Be presidential. Who cares what people... Just fuck it.
But obviously he's the unchanging man. Like, we're not, it's just like... It's just frustrating to see such disgusting behavior on display again. And people love it. That's really disappointing.
Jonathan, tell us what was going on with this fucking funding freeze situation.
Yeah, I'm going to try to go through the timeline here. Feel free to interrupt me, of course, because as usual, it's like a 3-day timeline that has 15 stupid things in it.
It's a whole season of a show.
So the Office of Management and Budget, part of the federal government, sent out a memo on Monday night to all federal agencies saying they need to, quote, temporarily pause all activities related to obligation or disbursement of all federal financial assistance, to make sure that funding is in line with Trump's priorities and the executive orders. But that memo was very vague and caused widespread confusion because the federal government pays for a lot of stuff in financial assistance, in grants and loans, potentially totaling $3 trillion. So all of these different agencies were wondering, do we need to stop pay? Are we not going to get paid? Do we have to shut down? I just want to give a sense of the scope of how much would have been affected by this. Federal grants and loans and financial assistance goes to Head Start early childhood development, school lunches for underprivileged kids, homeless veterans, community health centers, Medicaid, federal student loans, small business loans, disaster relief, domestic violence shelters, suicide hotlines, and freaking Meals on Wheels, which had a pause for a few hours because they didn't know if they were going to be able to get paid to provide the meals to people.
It's wild.
Again, as I was saying earlier, there's so many things that the federal government does that is good, that people aren't really aware of necessarily. And I know some people will use that as an argument of like, well, then the government's too big and we need to shrink it. Like, no, these are all good things. There's 73 million people on Medicaid. That's so they can go to the doctor. And all these there's so many things, and they just want to collapse it all to create hard times and enrich themselves And it's just really, it's so careless on purpose, and they don't seem to care. Wow, yeah, it's careless. Great. Really.
No, I think that's good analysis, though.
No, it is.
It's just like really frustrating to see this like general like vibe of like, yeah, we gotta like the bureaucracy, we gotta take it out. Yeah, there are all these things that are good for people, and you don't know them, you don't feel them, but when they're gone, you do, and you suffer for it.
And people depend on it.
People
regardless
depend
if
on
you're
it.
going to overhaul the federal government. Sure, there's lots of bloating. There's lots of things. I'm not going to pretend like there aren't ways that we can change things for the better. But you know what you don't do is cut off everything that is directly affecting people's lives, people that desperately need it, and pull the rug out from under their feet in an extremely chaotic fashion. And then put so many people's immediate jobs in question. This is it's
well, maybe
like
those homebound people were getting too many free meals.
Yeah, all of these awful programs. These are like the best of the things that we have to offer. This is what's good about America. Cut the fucking bloating, sure. Tell me what that is, but take your time. Don't do this. And it's not early childhood development. It's not Meals on Wheels, for God's sake.
People don't A to C this stuff. It's like, oh, we pay for Medicaid for 70 million Americans. That's so much money. Why is it my responsibility? Okay, if you want to take all of those people and take away their health care, you think ER lines are long now? Wait till it's the only way anyone gets health care.
My God.
Think about like one step past it. One step.
I have so many arguments with people, but also in my head. One of them, that was today. It's like, what the fuck? Okay, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? You're going to complain about, the homeless crisis, but you don't want to help them. And you want to rag on people that are in the throes of addiction, but we don't want to help them. We don't want to set up treatment facilities. We don't want to, create programs that work in other countries to help. You don't want to do that. What do you want to do? Do you want to just complain, or do you want to kill them? Tell me what it is.
Deport everyone, except me and my
friends. Lock them up, send them away. They just want out of sight, out of mind. Don't have to worry about it.
I understand that they don't want to deal with it, but you have to. One way or the other. The other thing is just to continue ignoring the problem. Okay, let's create more children on the streets. Okay. I'm obviously very fired up this week.
Yesterday, I was like talking about one of these many things, and I was like, yeah, it's been 7 days. It's been such a short amount of time, and they're doing so many. Again, it's like by design. They want this chaos. They want people to suffer. They want all this stuff to be. They want all this stuff to happen.
The time represented in the film The Ring. That's what this has been.
Yep. I haven't seen The Ring, but I assume
they say 7 days. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Because it's not only a bad thing to do. The rollout of this was, of course, horrible. You would think that this Trump administration is trying to be less chaotic than the hitting the ground running that they did 8 years ago, and it is not going well.
No.
A bunch of agencies were temporarily locked out of their online portals to receive federal money, and then the White House later said that it was an outage, just a coincidental outage that took place at the exact same time after a federal judge temporarily blocked the funding freeze. The Office of Management and Budget rescinded the memo, and then Stephen Miller must have leaked like, well, this didn't come to me, right? So it was just OMB getting thrown under the bus. Their administrator just sent this out without checking with the White House first. Like, just a chaotic nonsense embarrassment. And then once it was rescinded, the new press secretary, Carolyn Levitt, which I guess is a name we have to know, is
for now.
She tweeted, "This is not a rescission of the federal funding freeze. It is simply a rescission of the OMB memo. Why? To end any confusion created by the court's injunction. The president's executive orders on federal funding remain in full force and effect and will be rigorously implemented."
But
what does that mean?
Yeah. Who's to say?
Okay.
That's so much more confusing.
Right. Great communication from our new press secretary.
Wait,
who
but
also lied about, what was it, like $30 million worth of condoms going to Gaza or something?
50 million.
50 million. Oh, 50 million. We don't need to even talk about that, but like she's already quite a piece of work and not really great at her job, but that's cool.
This tweet was used in a hearing. Finish this. I want to hear this part.
Oh, right. So there was another case going on where people who were suing, agencies or stakeholders suing, saying you should still put a restraining order on this because even though this memo went out saying the order is rescinded, here's a tweet from the White House saying it's not. And the judge is like, you know what, you're right. And so put an additional restraining order on the ability to enforce this. So I will say the left, the Dems in disarray though they are, there have been a few, I don't want to say victories because it's fumbles by the Trump administration,
right.
Not victories by the Democrats, but this has been so chaotic and judges are saying, no, you can't do this. And I think Trump is probably a little stunned because I think he thinks he's the dictator already. And like, no, you got to put some more work.
Yeah,
Right.
you need a few more months before you can really do this. Well, because there's also, and this is something that I hope, we don't need to like talk about Democrats that much today. We will. I really hope they step up and like, yeah, they lost and this. They are the other party. They are the opposition party. So even though they have limited power now, they need to act like the opposition party and be communicating to people and be doing everything they can. When this happened, there was like a memo that was sent out to Democrats, like emergency meeting tomorrow at 1 p.m. So like all the stuff, Jonathan, that you described happened before their emergency meeting. It's stuff like that where it's like, do the call now, cancel stuff, like whatever. But just there's a communication that needs to happen about how not just like it's illegal to do this. This is a fundamental, like this is something he should not be allowed to do. He's the president. He's not Congress. Congress decides what is spent and how much is spent on stuff. That is like in the Constitution as something that they are supposed to be in charge of. And what he's trying to do is take it all for himself and just like get rid of Congress. He doesn't want Congress to exist. He's trying to take control of spending and decide like, well, it doesn't align with what I want, so we're not going to do that. That's not how it works. It might be, unfortunately, how it's going to start working, but it's not how it works. And we need them to be out there and like, yeah, this is like, I don't even know what to say. It's just like, this is the beginning of his attempt to slowly deteriorate the power of Congress and existence of it at all. Because it's not in his purview to do this. You can't, like the president isn't supposed to be doing this.
The scope of Project 2025, the scope of the things that.
Well, they're not going to do Project 2025. They said they're not going to do it. They said that was
not that
fake.
title.
So
the scope of what they want to do is so beyond Congress. It's so beyond. They won't get it done working with Congress. So you're going to try to barrel through as much as you can. However you want to rely on the overwhelm to see what sticks, to just kind of bulldoze your way through. I wanted to say this. This was chaotic and terrible and bad. And there's going to be a lot of this. There is an element of outrage. Obviously, there was illegal injunctions, things, restraining, all of the stuff that has happened legally. Thank you, everybody who is fighting so hard and moving the ball forward so quickly on those arenas. And there was astounding pushback from all of us as well, from people freaking out, looking over this confusion. And I do think that is a testament to how we have to pay attention. I'm bringing this back around to someplace it's exhausting. I have felt depressed and exhausted all week and cried a lot, reading the news and feeling the anxiety. And we have to pay attention. I know a lot of people wanted to take a break. I understand taking a break. If you need to, I get it. But we do have to be paying attention because it's an overwhelming amount of information coming down the pipeline and we can't handle all of it, but you can't just let it happen. You got to be reading this and you got to be watching this and observing this. So I'm going to step back from that.
Yeah. And again, like pointing out like all these things and communicating to people who maybe foolishly voted for Donald Trump. but we're maybe like low information voters or like don't think about this kind of stuff, and just point all this stuff out, because in 2 years, if we're still allowed to have elections, that's the time to take back a little bit of power. And I agree with you completely.
You know,
and so on.
The overreach, though, is real. Like, they really, like, he convinced himself he had this mandate. He's as more popular than he's ever been. He is the least popular president after 1 week in office in the 70 years that Gallup has been doing polling, second only to himself 8 years ago. A new Reuters Ipsos poll shows he started at 47% approval last week, which sounds way too high, but it is like historically low for a new president being inaugurated. And this week it has slipped 2 points to 45%. You're not supposed to be at 45% approval rating a week into your second term.
There's like the first 100 days are usually pretty good for president.
That's the honeymoon period.
That's the honeymoon period, exactly.
But you just got remarried to this guy, and there's no more honeymoon, and you're just
exactly.
I can't believe I did this again. What is the Parks and Rec thing? He's got 2 Tammys. Why? I don't know. I don't think that's relevant here, actually. I don't think it's relevant.
No, but
to this
we
thing.
needed a little bit of a laugh. So
technically 3 Tammys. I think his final wife's middle name was Tammy.
I should rewatch that.
I missed
you guys
the
were
last
right.
seasons.
I don't know. That's good. It's fine. I recommend, I guess. It's It is. It's not heartening because he's the president. There's nothing to be done, but it is again what we've been saying, where it's like, yeah, he sucks, and he's bad at this, and he has even worse people working for him now. They're all worse somehow, and their intentions are worse, and they're more incompetent, and we're going to see this more and more. More and more people are saying
more and more people
that he sucks shit.
There's an Elon Musk element to this, not directly related to the funding freeze, but kind of related to all of this breakdown of our internal bureaucracy. Elon Musk and his cronies, it looks like, have been put in charge of the Office of Personnel Management, which manages the hiring and firing of federal employees.
And this is separate from Doge.
Separate from Doge, which is like, maybe part of the government, but maybe not.
Right. And it's like the Doge's tendrils kind of getting in.
This man
like
just
all
keeps
these...
adding jobs, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Sorry,
he's
Cody.
CEO
no,
of
he's
12
a very
things,
busy man who tweets 300 times a day. There's also like, it's like his cronies, Peter Thiel's cronies, like a lot of these people who are now in charge. Like there's this one piece from, I think, like Wired or something. It was like, yeah, they're like just graduated from high school, like people from like Palantir and stuff. Like this is the anti-elites out there working for their tech oligarchs.
They're the non-elites.
Now.
So the chief of staff of OPM is this person, Amanda Scales, who most recently worked at xAI, which is Musk's AI company that I think built Grok. I don't think they're separate. So they want to reduce the size of the federal workforce, and they want everyone to be aligned with MAGA ideals. So a memo was sent out to federal workers saying you can have a deferred resignation, kind of like you would do at a tech company, where you can resign right now before February 6th. You can keep full pay and benefits. You can work remotely, and regardless of if you have any other work to do, you'll get paid through the end of September. And this memo, well, first of all, it's unclear if the government could do that. Companies do that. The federal government, maybe not. So the memo,
Twitter did it. Twitter did it to a T.
Yes, the memo that got sent out, and you can see this at opm.gov/fork, is called Fork in the Road, and it looks a lot like a Fork in the Road memo sent out to Twitter employees right after Elon took over.
When Amanda Scales worked there?
Well, for xAI, so
for
a different
xAI,
company.
Okay. Question. Okay. It's to reduce the size of the federal workforce and purge non-MAGA true believers. So that you sent out a memo to everybody offering, not to everybody. How are they picking? Who are the people that are getting fired?
They basically are like, if you don't like Trump and you don't want to work for what this is going to be anymore.
That doesn't feel legal.
Well, right. And also, I would argue if you're, say, an air traffic controller or something, it doesn't matter if you like Trump or not.
Right. These are the jobs that are, this should be nonpartisan. These are people federal employees, and we value longevity in a lot of these roles, maybe not all of them. This is a wide swath of people, but in general, people that know what they're doing for the FAA is important, and you want people to say like, oh, actually, this is what worked with Biden, this is what didn't. And you want an environment where you're learning from your history and from experience. I'm not saying that every job in the world needs all of that experience. There's a value to young, new blood and, new ideas and energy, but not these jobs.
Yeah, there's so much institutional knowledge that is important to retain.
Institutional knowledge.
And they are willingly and gleefully burning it all down. And it's going to cause so many more problems that we can't even really foresee. Like, there are things that, again, so much goes on that we don't really think about, and they're like, yeah, this is what we do. We did it like this, and it worked for Biden and for Trump and for Obama and for George. Like, it's like you're saying, like, it's a nonpartisan situation in a lot of these cases. And if they're just going to get rid of the institutional knowledge, then they're going to have to build it back up. And I personally don't want Elon Musk and Donald Trump to build a new government. That sounds like a bad government for bad people who suck.
Yeah. Also, it's just chilling that you would say, like, well, it's my first week. I need everyone to swear fealty to me.
Yep.
That's not
truly
great.
Chilling.
It's not good.
Because there's the deep state, right? They're all going to go in and do their own thing unless you make them swear loyalty.
Well, they have to make their own deep state, which is what they're doing. Right now. That's why all these grokkies and Palantiriates are in the fucking these positions now, because they're making their own little deep state for everybody. Can't wait.
There has been understandable fear among many undocumented workers on farms, in factories, not knowing if and when ICE is going to show up for them. There was a post that went viral this week that claimed that 75% of the farm workers in Bakersfield didn't show up one day this week because of ICE raids several weeks ago. And the United Farm Workers said that's not true, but that, they've heard from a lot of their members. There is a definite fear out there.
So this is, at this point, it's anecdotal. There's been that post. I've seen other stuff, though. There is a construction Reddit, and apparently for the past week, it's been very difficult to get people to show up to jobs. I do believe that, a viral post I always take with many, many grains of salt. Not that, so there's that one. But there have been many different things that I've seen suggesting that this is happening to a degree. Whether or not people are going to officially acknowledge that, there is some level of people not feeling safe to show up.
Yeah, there's a chilling effect for sure.
We have a Google Hangout with one of the tiers of our Patreon, and had a conversation that just gutted me this week, where we heard from someone who works at a school district as a lawyer, and all the steps that they're doing to prepare, and how panicked the parents are, not sending their children to school, and the pressure that puts on a school system as well, because they're obligated to give these children an education. The conversation about whether or not, they should have their papers on hand at school, or if that is a bad idea. It's terrifying, and it's real, and it's happening.
And
people are being deported, and
people are being rounded up, and then they finally give their IDs and like, oh, never mind, you're released. And it's just like this sort of indiscriminate, chaotic attempt to just round people up, kick them out, put them in.
And no, it's not just violent criminals. We're talking about people with no record, and
creating these traumatic experiences for these people that are completely unnecessary. And whether it's at work or schools, just this chilling effect of we don't know what to do. I have seen a lot of good information and good effective information being disseminated, where it's just know your rights. and know what you were able to do and know how to handle this. I even saw libs of TikTok be like, are you okay with this? Like, they're telling people how to break the law. No. They're telling people their rights, ma'am. It's an absurd like framing of it, but I don't know. It's just it's very scary, and as we alluded to, maybe unless it was cut, Donald Trump is going to send thousands of these people to Guantanamo without being charged for anything, one would assume.
Yeah. Jonathan, give us some information about this.
Yeah, he's going to, or he signs an executive order instructing the Pentagon and DHS to prepare a 30,000 person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay. He said, "We have 30,000 beds in Guantanamo to detain the worst criminal illegal aliens threatening the American people." That's a concentration camp. If you just detain a bunch of people living and working in America and then put them somewhere and don't charge them with a crime or anything.
Well,
and we also it's a torture concentration camp, as we've been familiar with Guantanamo. I will just say real quick, real shame that none of our previous presidents got to shut that place down.
Yeah, what a bummer.
But it still exists.
Maybe all presidents are bad too. This one's worse. Let's be clear. I don't know what it is that he said. There was some clip and then quote tweet that I'd seen going around, and essentially saying, "And yeah, we'll put them in Guantanamo Bay because we can't even trust the home countries. We can't send them back because we can't trust them not to send them back to us. So that's why we're putting them in Guantanamo Bay." And somebody says, "And then what? And then what? What are you doing? What are we doing? You're just going to keep them there?"
Oh, eventually.
In a concentrated area.
Yeah.
In a concentrated area. And it's going to be like a camp. It's fun.
It'll be like a fun camp, yeah.
It'll be a fun camp where you concentrate.
Like this, they're just able to dissemble and qualify everything. So they'll be like, well, no, this is not like that. Obviously, you're making allusions to the Nazis. Not everything is like a Nazi. Debatable. A lot of things right now are like Nazis.
Yup.
But like, if you just look at what the definition of some of what the Nazis did was, or what, we did during World War II in Japanese internment camps. There's a lot of stuff in history, so you don't just have to go to Nazis.
No.
But yeah, it's fascist. It's illegal. Not that anyone cares, but according to the Constitution, it's illegal and has been illegal, what we've been doing there for
Well, they're going to
decades.
rewrite the Constitution. They're going to have a new Constitution in a couple of years.
Yeah, there's so much.
Yeah, it's really, really chilling stuff. That's not surprising. We haven't even mentioned what he's been saying about Gaza. And
oh my God.
And his very clear intentions there that were obvious last year and obvious now. His plan for the Gaza Strip is to clean out the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. That's another thing that made me cry this week.
Yeah, it's so like a cleansing.
Well, when you
Of
cleanse
an
something, that's a
ethnicity?
cleansing. It's synonymous. Yeah.
Pretty strong language there. It's all horrific. I don't know, like
it's all so overwhelming because yes, this is something that we explicitly said many times on this specific show. No, we don't think Donald Trump will get some sort of stupid credit for ending the war and then be so unbelievably terrible for the people of Palestine. And that's what we've been saying. That's a part of why it was so overwhelmingly frustrating in the election to also see our candidate doing jack shit, but knowing that our candidate would also be better for Palestinians in the long run, but doing nothing actionable in the meantime. It's just a fucking mess. I'm
yeah, and
furious.
For it to be furious. Yeah, it's infuriating. And even now, you're still seeing so much like, well, this is what you wanted, folks. No, it's not. Do you think we criticized Joe Biden because we wanted him to lose? No, the criticism was so that he would win. And then Kamala Harris, it was so that she would win. Like, everything that was said wasn't like, we want to like undermine her and like make sure Trump wins. No. We knew that these were issues that were important, that needed to be vocally defended and discussed in a different way, and action needed to be taken so that she would win. And now they're like, well, this is what you wanted. No, this is what you wanted. Fuck off. It sucks.
Did you see that Matt Iglesias blog post this week where he said, throw Biden under the bus? Sleepy Joe landed us in this mess with bad, selfish decisions. I haven't read it, so I don't know what decisions he calls out. But dude, stop.
Bro, I can't. So many people sharing that, like, I co-sign. You spent 4 years saying Joe Biden was the sharpest man in the world. You said he could dunk on everybody. Like,
and in fairness, he later said he was wrong about that. Like,
great. But like, just this, like, I that is a whole other conversation too. The lack of actual introspection and just like the sort of like this reclaiming of like, wow, we need to do this. Oh, you mean the thing that like other people have been saying for years? And now everyone needs to listen to you because you're finally coming around to something that was obvious for so long. Maybe you're like a little behind and will continue to be a little behind on what needs to happen. Or we can just blame trans people. We can just do that.
Speaking of which,
a lot of executive orders about that. Yeah, speaking of not doing that, a few executive orders banning any gender-affirming care for people under 19, odd age to choose, whatever, 18-year-olds or legal adults. I don't understand that. And also defining, it's an executive order, defines that there are two sexes, male and female. We have an entire episode. It's about an hour long about that. It's not like, it doesn't actually directly address the most recent executive order because that happened a day before the video was released. But it works out that it really does address that that executive order in a lot of different ways. And so while we don't have time to necessarily to really unpack that, we urge you to
please
check
watch
out
it.
That. It's an hour long, and I hope it helps. I hope it does a good job in defending these kinds of things, because first people under the bus are trans people.
I want to shout out our writer El Yerman, who's been working on this for a while. We released this video yesterday, so Wednesday of this week, and the response on Twitter to me was shocking, and I shouldn't be because it's Twitter.
It's X.
But it's quite ugly. And even amongst some people, presumably that watch our shows and videos and like some of our videos, but that is Twitter, and maybe that's just somebody trolling people. I don't know, but I would also urge you to look at the comments on YouTube, because there is an overwhelming amount of comments from people sharing their stories. And that is where community lies. If you dig into the healthy spaces and you see what other people are saying and relating to each other. And I found it comforting personally. And I'm not trans. And so if you're feeling scared, if you're feeling targeted, you know, I hope you have the, if you have the space, because I know it's also hard to consume all of this content, you know, check it out. And then check out some of the comments. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's some bad ones buried in there, but
probably buried.
But so many stories of people talking about their experiences, and people saying a lot of people saying that they detransitioned solely because of social pressure, of not feeling
we
accepted.
Talked about in the episode,
and then lots of people saying they detransitioned and then retransitioned. There's so much misinformation. There's so much bullshit being circulated around this, but we need to just keep checking in and remembering the humanity of the people being affected here. And it's so scary and ugly and hateful, but there is a lot of beauty out there to be found in community, is my point. And yeah,
I agree with you completely. Yeah, and I think I mean, yeah, timing worked out. It's just this kind of thing that seems like so many people don't care, and like even like you're saying, some of the comments were like, "Why are you talking about this?" It's important, actually. Right away, everybody blaming the trans issue on Trump winning and all this sort of stuff. It is like, first they came for like, it is just, I don't know. It's important, I think, to
I do too.
Unapologetically defend trans people. And
who, one of the things I've been saying is like, look at all this other stuff going on. Like, yes, of course, we're going to talk about that. Like we do. We have episodes in the work for months. Just a reminder that it's not an overnight process. Sometimes Dave, our head writer, just knocks out a really amazing script that can be fast responding. But a lot of our topics we spend, which you guys like, I think, a lot of time researching and fact checking and dialing in.
Yeah, we don't want to just like be like impulsive and like, oh, we got to like say something. You don't always have to say something.
That's what this show is for.
Exactly.
Where we force you to say
anyway,
things.
we don't need to, sorry if we're like talking too much about like comments and things and like the process, but instead of the actual issue. But I don't know how to end this sentence.
No,
so
that
I'm
is.
not gonna.
I agree.
I guess that counts
but
as an
the
end of
point
the sentence.
was, we're out of time today, but we want
That's
you
the point,
to know that this is forefront of our minds, and we do have an hour-long video on this topic. And yeah, I specifically am mentioning the comments because there's a bunch of great ones on YouTube. And,
yes, it's really positive.
I want you to go there and check it out if you think that will be a healthy experience for you.
Yes.
End of sentence.
End of sentence.
End of show, maybe? I don't know. Y'all, I think it's time. This feels like a broken record already. So much to get through, and we're really working on getting through things quicker while also giving the appropriate amount of time. I don't know. Maybe we'll do more shows in the future.
Who knows?
We'll see.
Yeah, we're
Who knows?
really trying to figure out the best way to address all this stuff. It is overwhelming every day to find out the new chaotic distraction or chaotic actual thing that is important, and it's a few of them every single day, and we're going to try to get to everything and not rush important topics, but sometimes we might. So we're sorry.
I personally feel better at the end of this episode than I did at the beginning. There is something cathartic about getting to talk and go through it with like minds. And so...
Oh, he wants to deport pro-Palestinian protesters.
Oh, that's another
We forgot to mention that. I'm so sorry. We forgot to mention that. That's fucked up. I did actually want to point out that, fucked up. And also, I don't want to make this about Democrats again, but the Democrats spent about a year demonizing the protesters and calling them terrorists and pro-Hamas terrorists. And maybe they shouldn't have done that because it would have made it less easy for Trump to be like, yeah, we're going to get rid of them.
Cody, not to put you on the spot, but you totally predicted this too. So.
I did say this was going to happen, and they shouldn't be doing what they were doing at the time because it would lead to exactly this happening.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Anyway, I was in the middle of telling
Iglesias
people
column.
how grateful I am for them, but that was a very
I know. I'm
thing.
sorry. I was just
no,
like,
don't
right,
be.
the thing.
Don't be sorry. It underscores my point, which is that there's so much, but we're going to be doing our best. And like and subscribe.
I also just read breaking news, not to you listening, but to us now. A preliminary FAA report says staffing in the air traffic control tower at Reagan National was not normal last night. That's the quote, not normal.
Normal.
One controller managing both helicopters in the vicinity and planes.
One? Doing both?
This is typically a two-person thing, and they
When did that change? We don't know that part yet.
We don't know that, but
we don't know yet. Okay, great.
Maybe
Looking
planned,
forward to all of this
anyway.
information. Wowza. Shocker. All right, guys. What was I saying? Like and
subscribe. Leave a nice comment.
I just want to say one thing to the audio listeners.
Do it.
People are loving it over here on the video side. They are. Yeah. They like it. I maybe want to give her a shot.
Yeah.
Most importantly, what I want to say is sincerely, we love you very much. I mean, that made it sound not sincere.
Well, yeah, that's every time, though. It's sincere every time.
Much.